everyone, I Kamini Rathore, Assistant Professor RCET CSVQ Bhilai, welcome you all in SWAYAM online course Essentials of Surveying Application and Technique. Today we will discuss lecture number 19, that is contouring part 1. In this lecture we are going to learn about contour lines, contour intervals and horizontal equivalents as well as the characteristics of contours. After that we will also discuss the methods of contouring and the differences between them. While introducing surveying, it was mentioned that showing natural and man-made features on land in a plan is topographic surveying. Instead of showing the features only in their plan view, if their positions in elevation are also shown, it will enhance the value of topographic map. The various methods try to show the relative vertical positions of features in a plan are shading, spot heights, hatching and contour lines. Of all these methods, commonly used method is by drawing contour line in the plan. So, an imaginary line on the ground joining the points of equal elevation above the assumed datum is called a contour. It is a plan projection of the plane passing through the points of equal height on the surface of the earth. Concept of a contour can be made clear by surveying the boundary of still water in a pond. As you can see in the figure number 1, if the level of the water surface is 100 meter, then the periphery of water represents a contour of 100 meters. Now imagine that water level is lowered by 5 meters, then new periphery of water will then represent a contour of 95 meter. While conducting surveying, if levels of various points on the ground are also taken, it is possible to draw ground features in the plan as well as draw the contour lines of different elevations. The field and office work involved in drawing contour lines is called contouring. We can also say the process of tracing contour lines on the surface of the earth is called contouring, and the maps upon which these lines are drawn are called contour maps. A contour map therefore gives an idea of the altitudes of the surface features as well as their relative positions in plan. Thus, a contour map serves the purpose of both a plan and a section. Let us move forward and learn about contour interval and horizontal equivalent. The vertical distance between any two consecutive contours is called contour interval. It is kept the same on a map to depict correct topography of the terrain. The contour interval of a contour map is the difference in elevation between successive contour lines. For example, figure shows contours in an area with contour interval of 1 meter, and on other hand the least horizontal distance between two consecutive contours is called horizontal equivalent. It is different for different contours and is dependent on the slope of the ground surface. It is comparatively less in hills than in plains. Obviously, contour interval divided by horizontal equivalent will give slope of the ground along the lines joining those 2 points. If the contour interval is small, the undulation of ground is known better. At the same time, smaller the contour interval, cost of the survey project is larger. Choice of contour interval of a plan depends upon the following factors: scale of the map, purpose of the map, nature of the ground and availability of the time and funds. Let us see these factors one by one. First is scale of the map. The contour interval is kept inversely proportional to the scale of the map. Smaller the scale of the map, larger the contour interval. On the other hand, if the scale of the map is large, the contour interval should be small. If on a small scale map a small contour interval is adopted, the horizontal distance between two consecutive contours, that is horizontal equivalent, is also small, and when plotted on the scale of the map the two contours might unite together. It necessitates to increase the contour interval on small scale maps. The second factor is purpose of the map. The contour interval on a map also depends upon the purpose for which the map is to be utilized. If the map is prepared for setting out a highway on hill slopes, a large contour interval might suffice. But if the map is required for the construction of a university campus, a small contour interval will be required for accurate work. Let us see the third factor for deciding contour interval. This is nature of the ground. The contour interval depends upon the generally topography of the terrain. In flat ground, contours at small intervals are surveyed to depict the general slope of the ground, whereas high hills can only be depicted with contours at larger contour interval. In other words, we may say that the contour intervals is inversely proportional to the flatness of the ground, that is, steeper the terrain, larger the contour interval. The last factor is availability of time and funds. If the time available is less, greater contour interval is adopted to complete the project in the specified time. On the other hand, if sufficient time is at the disposal, a smaller contour interval might be decided, keeping in view all the other factors which is already explained here. So, it may be noted that contour interval should be such so that depending upon the scale of the map, purpose of the map, availability of time and the nature of the ground, correct topography of the terrain may be depicted clearly and without any confusion. For general topographical map, the contour interval may be decided from the following rule. So, contour interval equal to 20 divided by number of centimeters per kilometers. This equation gives the value of contour interval in meters. You can see in the table that the values of the contour interval adopted for various purposes are given. So, for large scale maps of flat country, for building sites, for detailed design work and for calculation of quantities of earthwork, it is 0.2 to 0.5 meter. For reservoir and town planning schemes, it is 0.5 to 2 meter. For location surveys, it is 2 to 3 meter. And for small scale maps of broken countries and general topographical work, it is 3 meter, 5 meter, 10 meter or 25 meters. Let us see the characteristics of contours. The some characteristics of contours are kept in view while preparing or reading a contour map. These are: two contours of different elevations do not cross each other except in the case of any overhanging cliff. Second characteristic is contours of different elevations do not unite to form one contour except in the case of a vertical cliff. Third characteristic, contours drawn closer depict a steep slope and if drawn far apart represent a gentle slope. Fourth characteristic is contours equally spaced depict a uniform slope when contours are parallel, equidistant and straight, these represent an inclined plane surface. The fifth characteristic is contour at any point is perpendicular to the line of the steepest slope at the point. A contour line must close itself but need not be necessarily within the limit of a map itself. The seventh characteristic of contour is a set of ring contours with higher values inside depict an hill, whereas a set of ring contours with lower values inside depict a pond or a depression without an outlet. The eighth characteristic is when contours cross a ridge or V-shaped valley, then form sharp V shape across them. Contours represent a ridge line if the concavity of higher value contour lies towards the next lower value contour, and on the other hand these represent a valley if the concavity of the lower value contour lies towards the higher value contour. The ninth characteristic is the same contour must appear on both the sides of a ridge or a valley. The 10th characteristic is contours do not have sharp turnings. Let's talk about the last topic of today's lecture, that is method of contouring. Contouring consists of finding elevations of various points in the area surveyed. At the same time, the horizontal positions of those points should also be found. Thus, it needs vertical control and horizontal control in the work. For vertical control levels, theodolite or clinometers may be used, while for horizontal controls, chain, compass, plane table or theodolite are used. Field work for locating contours may be executed in various ways according to the instruments used. The various methods of locating contours may be divided into two main classes. First is direct method and second is indirect method. Let us see the direct method number 1. In this method, contours to be plotted are actually traced out in the field by locating and marking a number of points on each. These points are surveyed on a plane table section and the appropriate contours are drawn through them. This method is comparatively slow and is generally not adopted on large surveys unless a superior accuracy is demanded. It is suitable for contouring of small areas where better accuracy is required. In this method, the whole field work may be divided into two steps. First one is the location of the point on the contours, that is vertical control, and second is plotting of the points on the plane table section, that is horizontal control. The two operations may be carried out simultaneously if one surveyor is employed on leveling for locating the points and the other for surveying their locations by plane tabling. Let us see the first step called vertical control. Instruments required for vertical control are level, leveling staff, plane table with its accessories. Let us see its procedure. First, establish a permanent benchmark of known elevation above mean sea level in the area of the project, or accept any suitable point as datum level with an arbitrary value, says 500 meters. Then set up the level on any commanding position A from where a reading on the staff placed on the benchmark can be made easily. After that, read the level staff held on the benchmark. Assume that its middle wire reading is 1.523 meter. Calculate the height of the line of collimation of level, that is 500 plus 1.523 equal to 501.523 meter. For this you can see figure number 2a. Then to locate the 500 meter contour on the ground, direct the staff men to the points where staff reading is 501.523 minus 500 equal to 1.523 meter, and locate their positions by inserting wooden pegs. For locating the 501 meter contour, the staff men should be directed to the points where the staff reading is 501.523 minus 501 equal to 0.523 meter. It may be noted that from this setting of the level, 502 meter contour cannot be located as the elevation of the line of collimation is only 501.523 meter as shown in figure number 1b. But the lower value contour, that is 499 meter, 498 meter, etc. can be located depending upon the length of the leveling staff, that is whether it is 4 meter, 4.5 meter or 5 meter. It is necessary that the line of collimation should intersect some portion of the staff for locating the contour. Then establish a forward station F on a pakka mark and read the leveling staff held on it. Let its value be 3.426 meter. The reduced level of F is 501.523 minus 2.426 equal to 498.097 meter. Then shift the level to another commanding station, say B, and read the back staff on the point F. Let the reading be 0.852 meter. Then calculate the height of the line of collimation of the level at B, that is 498.097 plus 0.852 equal to 498.949 meter. Then the point on the contours of lower value, that is 497, 496, 495 meter, etc. can be further located from this setting of the level. Proceed in a similar manner till entire area is contoured. Let us see the second step called horizontal control. Instruments required for horizontal controls are a plane table with its accessories and chain, etc. Let us see the procedure. See figure number 3. In case of small areas, the location of the points on each contour are surveyed on the plane table section by radiation method. If the area is large and the contour cannot be plotted from one setting, the plane table is shifted to another commanding station B, to which a long radial line AB is drawn. On reaching the station B, the plane table is set by back ray method and the measured distance between the two stations is plotted on the scale of the plane table section. The points on different contours are surveyed by radial line method and the process continued till all the contours are plotted. It may be appreciated that the contours are drawn through the points located on the plane table. Hence, sufficient number of the points at close interval are required to be located for accurate contouring. While locating contours with this method, the following points should be kept in mind. The plotted position of the consecutive points on any contour are simply joined by straight lines on the plane table section, and as such location, some points on the changes of slopes should also be made. You can see in the figure number 4, suppose A, B, C, D, E and F are the points on the 500 meter contour located on the ground. The point A and B are on one side of a ridge and the points C, D and E and F on the other side, whereas watershed line is shown by a dotted line. It should be ensured in such cases that a point on the contour must be located on the ridge line. Otherwise, by simply joining the points B and C, the contour will be seriously in error as shown by a dotted line joining B and C. This is equally applicable to locate contours in stream beds and valleys. Let us see direct method number 2. Instruments used for this method are Indian tangent clinometer, a ranging rod, a plane table and a chain. In this method, contours are also actually traced by locating a number of points on each. For the vertical control, a clinometer is used instead of a level. The distances are measured by direct chaining from the plane table station to the points. Procedure. Let's see the procedure. A number of benchmarks are established in the area by normal method of leveling. The plane table section is set upon a commanding position and leveled accurately. In case few coordinated control points are available, they may be plotted on the plane table section. Otherwise, assume any suitable location on the plane table for the station occupied by the plane table, keeping in view the general layout of the area. Place an Indian tangent clinometer on the top of the plane table section and level it carefully by its leveling screw. Sight through the eye hole of the clinometer a ranging rod held vertically on the nearby benchmark. The man holding the ranging rod should be asked to tie a 5 cm white cloth strip round the rod and slide it up and down till the clinometer reading becomes 0 for the upper edge of the cloth strip. The exact height of the cloth strip above the benchmark is measured with a tape. This method can be suitably employed when a level is not available during plane tabling or only one surveyor performs both the operations. It may be appreciated that horizontal and vertical controls are done simultaneously from the same station. The measurement of the distances are made from the point vertically below the eye vein, that is the point D, as shown in figure 5. Let us see direct method number 3. Instruments used for this method are photogrammetric plotting machine, a pair of vertical aerial. The method of direct contouring with the help of aerial photographs is the latest technique of surveying. In this method, a pair of vertical series photographs overlapping 60% are exposed, keeping in the camera axis vertical. The diapositives or negatives of these exposures are mounted on the picture carriers of photogrammetric machines such as Wilde, A7, A8, B8, etc. Relative orientation of the 3-dimension model is achieved by a systematic procedure of applying rotation and translation to the diapositive negatives mounted on the picture carriers until corresponding images of two photographic exposures are made to coincide over the entire model area. This procedure is known as relative orientation or removal of Y parallax over the entire model. After relative orientation, the correct scale of the model is obtained by altering the distance between the perspective centers of photographs, and the entire model is rotated and displaced along 3 different directions, that is x, y, z axis, until the height and distances of known points in the model agree. To achieve correct and absolute orientation of a model, at least 4 points of known plan and height coordinates in 4 corners of the model are required. 3 points are required for bringing the model in correct spatial position, and the 4th one provides a check. The floating mark is then set on a desired elevation, keeping the Z column fixed. The floating mark is moved in x and y direction, and the desired contour is plotted on a plan with a coordinatograph attached to the photogrammetric machine. By changing the Z column readings, the required number of contours may be surveyed. It may noted that in this method, every point on a contour is plotted, and as such it is the most accurate method. This method is employed when higher degree of accuracy is demanded. Let us talk about second method of contouring, that is indirect method. In this method, the points located and surveyed are not necessarily on the contour lines, but the spot levels. Spot means the RL of a point on the surface of the ground are taken along the series of lines laid out over the area. The spot level of the several representative points representing hills, depression, ridge and valley lines, and the changes in the slope all over the area to be contoured are also observed. Their positions are then plotted on the plan and the contour drawn by interpolation. This method of contouring is also known as contouring by spot levels. This method is commonly employed in all kinds of surveys, as this is cheaper, quicker and less tedious as compared with the direct method. Indirect method of contouring can be employed in three different ways, like by square method, by cross section method and by tachometric method. Let us see the first method called by square method. In this method, the whole area is divided into a number of squares, the sides of which may vary from 5 meter to 30 meter depending upon the nature of the ground and the contour interval. The squares need not be of the same size throughout. The corners of the squares are pegged out and the reduced levels of these points are determined with a level. The important points within the squares may be taken when required and located by measurements from the corners, as you can see in the figure 6. The squares are plotted and the reduced levels of the corners are written on the plan. The contour lines are then interpolated. This method is suitable in low undulations without any vegetative covers. Second method is by cross sections. This method is most suitable for survey of long narrow strips such as a road, railway, canal, etc. Cross section are run transverse to the center line of the work and representative points are marked along the lines of cross section. The cross section lines not need necessarily be at right angles to the center line of the work. This may be inclined at any angle to the center line if necessary. The spacing of the cross sections depending upon the topography of the country and the nature of the survey. The common value is 20 to 30 meter in hilly country and 100 meter in flat country. So that you can see in figure 7, the levels of the points along the section line are plotted on the plan and the contour are then interpolated as usual. This method is suitable for preparing a contour plan of a road, railways or canal alignment. Let us see the last indirect method called by tachometric method. This method is most suitable in hilly areas, as the number of stations which can be commanded by a tachometers is far more than those by a level, and thus the number of instrument settings is considerably reduced. A number of radial lines are laid down at a known angular interval and representative points are marked by pegs along these radial lines. Their elevations and distances are then calculated and plotted on the plan and the contour lines are then interpolated. Here one question arises, what is tachometer? So, the tachometer is transit theodolite having a diagram fitted with two stadia wires, one above and other below the central wire. The horizontal distance between the instrument and the staff stations may be determined by multiplying the difference of the staff readings of the upper and lower stadia wires with the stadia constant of the instrument, which is usually 100. Thus, the tachometer is used for both the vertical as well as for the horizontal measurements. As we wrap up this lecture, let us compare the direct and indirect methods of contouring. The direct method is most accurate but very slow and troublesome. Indirect method is not very accurate, but it is quicker and less troublesome. Direct method is very expensive and indirect method is very cheap. Direct method is used for small projects where greater accuracy is desired, that is layout of a factory, building structural, foundation, etc. Indirect method is used for large projects where greater accuracy is not desired, that is layout of a road, canal, railways line, etc. Direct method is unsuitable for hilly terrain and indirect method can be suitably used for preparing contour plan by tachometric method. The route survey of canal roads, etc. can be prepared by the method of cross sections. In direct methods, calculations of reduced levels is to be done in the field, and once the area is contoured, the calculations cannot be checked. In indirect method, the calculations of the reduced level is not done in the field, and hence these can be checked and when needed. So, in this lecture, we have discussed contour lines, contour intervals, horizontal equivalents, characteristic of contours, method of contouring and the differences between them. In the next lecture, we will see contouring part 2. With this, we will end today's lecture here. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.